Well, I realized that I needed to make a sequel to the last talk. So this is Emotion in Trading and Relationship Part 7, because I realized that in the last talk, I actually forgot to tie in particle indexes with emotion. Like, what in the world do particle indexes have to do with emotion? And the answer is that your particle indexes shape your emotions. That's where your emotions come from. It's from because those are your nature. You ever notice that people, um, like, they relate differently to having a relationship? You have this one person who falls passionately in love with person after person. It's like they've always got some new person who is it, you know, and that is a function of their particle indexes. It's their make. See, your particle indexes are your makeup. They are what your what therapists used to call your tendencies. And um, like, if your integrity index is low, and you interact with somebody, you come out of the interaction looking like a Picasso. And that's because you're not keeping yourself. um, like, if you think about, like, I was thinking about Franny's sister, the one who married the millionaire, and what kind of emotions did she probably have? And I remember when she brought him to dinner with their parents, where I was participating in that dinner. that that was, and I'm like a it's really funny because they all finished eating, and they all sat there and watched me eat. I eat very slowly, and they wouldn't go on to the next course until I was finished. And also, at the time, I would just eat a lot of protein, and so I made these really wonderful, I think they were chicken drumsticks or wings or something. And I just sat there and ate one after the other. I kept taking another one off the serving plate. Looking back on it, it's kind of embarrassing, but at the time, I mean, I was immune to those kinds of emotions. So I just sat there and ate, and watched them watch me, and we talked, and we had a nice dinner. It was fun. I always had dinner. I always had fun when I went to dinner with Franny's parents, which was almost every weekend, because I just loved getting out of New York City at the time. Couldn't stand to stay there. It's funny, I was there for 6 years, never left. And then Franny got me up to the country one weekend, and I wanted to go every weekend after that. We started out by taking the bus up, and then I had cars after a while, so we could drive up. We had cars in New York City. We rented a permanent set of parking spaces across the street from our loft. We used to pay $700 a month for parking. That wasn't an apartment. That was just parking. Oh, brother. I love New York. It's real. There's no place like it that I've been. It's just everything that's wrong with it is also what's right with it. It's amazing, that place. Of course, it's not the same anymore. It never is. You know, every 10 years it undergoes a complete upheaval. For 10 years or so. My God. Well, so that is, anyway, that's the connection between particle indexes and um, emotions. That, you know, when Dee was there at that dinner with her husband to be, and you know they had already announced that they were getting married, so we were meeting them, you know, and I just watched Dee, and you know her mother had a reaction, and Dee was just flat about everything. She was really wonderful. She was like Franny. Franny is like that. See, the thing about Franny, like Franny has a very high integrity index. And it's the reason she's been able to be with me, because I can be a very trying person to be in relationship with. and but see, Franny always does exactly what she wants, no matter whether you oppose her or support her or whatever. And you know, she is, and I just decided to support her, you know, after a long time, you know, of really maybe. I learned about supporting somebody from Franny. And so maybe my particle index is improved because I am a more supportive person generally now than I was when I first met her. You know, supportive of other people's intentions or wants. And, you know, I may not agree with them and so on, because, or maybe I even see that this is bad for the person. But I also realize that I need to support them, you know, whoever it is, not just Franny, but everybody. I'm proud of myself because I've become a more supportive person. So, you see, with a lot of this stuff that we have uh, learned and do with people, and people learn it, and a lot of times they just don't know what the hell, you know, is the relevance of this to my life, and what's it going to do for me, you know, if I learn this stuff. It's like algebra, you know. This There was this algebra teacher who made the material like relevant to people, and you know, his students, and he got, you know, some kind of an award, and I heard about him somewhere, you know. He was a good teacher because he had that knack of making what he was teaching available to other people, making it relevant, making it something where they know they need it because it's going to help them evolve in a good direction. And this is hard. You know, it's hard for me. I tend to be very, very intellectual, mental, to put it another way. And I forget, you know, that, you know, I'm always planning to use everything that I study and learn, or the theories that I propound, to my practical benefit. And I have an ability to do that, you know. But I will say, and people have told me this for years, that I tend to make things overly complicated. Like, so if you think about relationship, it's a very simple thing, and it's not really very describable any other way than by talking about particle indexes. That, you know, how did Franny's sister manage to stay with this guy who announced at the very beginning, this is not about getting married or staying together for life or anything like that. You know, I'll hire you, and the other assistants lasted 2 years, and now I'll hire you as my assistant, and he, here's the deal, and he told her what it was. And how did she end up sticking in there and turning that into, getting married and spending the rest of his life with him, and then being very broken up when he died, but that's another story for another time. And but she was on the phone with Franny and crying and so on. And one thing that Franny told me about it was that she used to tell him all her plans every day, like what she was doing. And see, Dee was always in businesses. She started things and closed them out, or sold them and bought properties and sold those and so on. And some of them she kept for years. Franny lived in an apartment that she owned in Burlingame with Greg for a while. And then I really I told them, I said, look, I need you in Philadelphia, please come. And so and Franny called her sister and said, we're going to move to Philadelphia. And her sister said, are you sure you don't want that apartment anymore? Because otherwise I'm going to sell it. And then she sold it after that. So on. So, and that's another thing. Franny and Dee both have very high workability indexes. And one thing it does is it helps them get along together, even though Franny, doesn't always like the way, keeping things the way Dee wants them. And if it's really important to her, she argues for it, but otherwise she, accommodates. And so that's something that's really important for relationship. You have to be workable, and you have to at the same time have high integrity so that you maintain your shape while you're being workable, instead of dissolving into a puddle and being workable because you can just flow along the floor. And with trading, the relevance to this, as I was saying yesterday, is if you have a very high selectivity particle attribute, that means that you're going to wait for your trade. All these successful traders say this. You have to find out what your trade is and then wait for your trade. And that's what selectivity is all about. It's just a simple little bit of trading wisdom, to be selective and make seriously good choices. But I want to throw out a thank you to my friend Angie, who was, she had worked her particle indexes, and she was saying, I don't see what I'm supposed to be getting out of this. And that, inspired me to do these talks. And, because I was trying to think, how do I talk about people's emotions? There was this encounter group place I went to when I was, preparing myself to be a psychotherapist. And they believed that there were 3 feelings: anger, fear, and pain. And that model worked for them pretty well. Then there are trading coaches who talk about emotions like fear of missing out, or holding on, when they should let go, and so on. And so those are emotions for them. And there is no way to explain any of this stuff other than particle indexes. Otherwise it's just free-floating oh, you have a fear of missing out. Well, stop being afraid of missing out. The person can't do that because I can't remember what offhand what particle index it would be, if it's even on the list. There are particle attributes that are not on that list. It's like every other list in our web college. The lists are meant to get you started, to give you a shove in the direction of exploration, so that you can nail down what you need to pay attention to and what you need to change. There are people who just feel a continuous emotion of just instability, like the world is shifting beneath their feet. And I don't know what particle index that is right now, but I know it is one. So, that being said, I will leave you to pursue this on your own, and I am happy to be, helping with a little, steering here with a few short movies. I really feel honored to be able to help. So, can't do it for you, but I can certainly maybe give you some clues. And that's what I'm trying to do.